News is traveling at light speed. There's so much going on. We're going to cover as much as we can. My name's Brian. This is the Brian Craig Show podcast. Thanks for tuning in. The Brian Craig Show is brought to you by Tom Laporta at Laporta Contracting and Roofing. If you're in the state of Florida and you need roof repair or replacement, Tom Laporta is your guy. He'll never sell you a roof you do not need. Online at laportaroofing.com. Okay, now there's a story getting a lot of attention today about this Florida teacher and the preferred name, preferred pronoun story. And let me read through this story and then we'll talk about this because there's a lot of things going on. We are in with Trump's second term, a transformational period in this country. And a lot of people haven't realized it yet. Okay. This is all over the news. This is out of Central Florida Public Media, where I'm sharing this story from. And it's Brevard County Schools. Brevard County it's Central Florida, but it's on the East Coast. It's where Melbourne, Florida is. If you look up Melbourne, which is kind of the sticks. Okay. Up in Melbourne. It's not Miami. It's not Jacksonville. It's not Palm Beach. It's not Fort Lauderdale. But it's a pretty big community. But it's still kind of like it's kind of more like old Florida than a lot of people don't realize, because when they think of Florida, they think of Miami Beach and Disney World, right? But Florida is a real southern state. More so when I first moved here when I was a kid, when I was 11 in 82. But there's still, a lot of that old deep South, very conservative American values throughout Florida. Florida is a very red state. And the areas that get all the attention, Disney World and Miami Beach, there's the liberal areas. But this is a very conservative state. Always has been, really. And Republicans have controlled Florida's government since 1998. So let me share this story. Brevard County Schools will not renew the teaching contract of an educator who called a student by their preferred name rather than the name they were assigned at birth. All right, it's a little complex sentence there, isn't it? They're being a little vague. Melissa Calhoun, who was a teacher at Satellite High School, won't have her contract renewed after a student's preferred name without parental permission. After using a student's preferred name without parental permission. Her 10-month contract was up for renewal in May. She's a teacher with the Brevard County School District. She's been there for 12 years. She got her teaching degree at the University of Central Florida. And the University of Central Florida is, it's a pretty liberal school. At least the students there are pretty liberal. For a Florida school. In a statement regarding Calhoun's dismissal, the school district wrote, it supports parents' rights to be the primary decision makers in their children's lives, and Florida law affirms their right to be informed. See, that's that law that DeSantis passed a while back. School district spokesperson Janet Murnahan said that the district conducted an internal investigation into the teacher and her use of the child's preferred name. It was during the investigation that Calhoun admitted to using the child's preferred name. Calhoun did not respond to media requests for comments. Under the Parental Rights and Education Law, which was expanded in 2023, Florida teachers who use a student's preferred name or pronouns without parental permission can be fired and lose their certification. Well, that's something. I didn't realize it went that far to lose their certification. Supporters of this law, including Governor Ron DeSantis, said it protects a parent's right to know if a child is changing their name or pronouns, sometimes to align with gender identity or sexuality. Speaking at the National Rental Home Conference in Orlando, Governor DeSantis asked this: is it appropriate for these young kids in schools to be having things like gender ideology taught to them, where they're taught that they may have been born in the wrong body, their gender is a choice? Look, as a parent of young kids, I don't want that. I want the kids to have a normal education. That's Governor DeSantis. But educational experts warn that the law could target teachers in a state that already has a teacher shortage, leading the teachers getting pink slipped. Other teachers left the state when the expanded law was first applied 2 years ago. A Change.org petition is asking to reinstate Calhoun. Good luck with that. On that petition, Calhoun's story is described in this way. Miss Calhoun is an embodiment of what proper education should be: inclusive, understanding, and respectful for individuality. Losing her would be a significant loss to the satellite high school in Brevard County's education community. Hundreds of people have left comments of support. Neither the governor's office or the Florida Department of Education have responded for comment on this story. Okay, now this story is getting a lot of publicity, and they've got a very zoomed in, cropped photograph of this teacher in all the news stories. It's the same one, cutesy, all-American girl kind of picture, and it's sympathetic. And maybe on the face of it, a lot of people are sympathetic. But here's the thing. I'm not sympathetic to the teacher at all. The teacher knew exactly what she was doing. Okay, if she had some moral opposition to using the proper name, she could have avoided using the child's name. She, like when I was in school, we had a lot of teachers that called all the students by our last names. Any of you have that? Teachers like that? Mostly coaches, but she could have called the student by their last name, or if it was a problem. What you have with a teacher like this is an activist. And these activists are going to do whatever it is they think is right. And, one thing about teachers, obviously I respect teachers, and conservatives respect teachers, and MAGA people respect teachers. But here's the thing. I talk about this a lot. We've got this Obama generation that have just hijacked our public schools, right? All over this country. They went on a huge recruiting spree of teachers starting when Obama was first president. It's gone on for a long time, and now it feeds on itself because they only hire like-minded teachers. And these aren't so much teachers as they are social justice warriors and activists. And this teacher knew exactly what she was doing. She knew exactly the risk she was taking. She knew the point she was making. And it's something she decided to do. I'm sorry to tell you. She got herself fired. Now, because she's becoming such a cause celeb, maybe some liberal school district somewhere in another state will hire her. But no, there has to be zero tolerance for this. There's no way a teacher went out of her way to do this, not knowing the risk that was involved. She was making a point. It's just like this story of this Space Force lady colonel in Greenland that Pete Hegseth removed from her command. Now, this lady colonel, she was with J.D. Vance when he visited Greenland a couple weeks ago. And, of course, he went over there, J.D. Vance, with his wife to start making the case that Greenland should make the decision to become part of the United States. And he went and met with U.S. service personnel over there. He went to this Space Force base with this lady, Colonel Susan Myers. And then she took it upon herself to send this mass email to every person under her command. And she's been fired, relieved of command. And this is what her email said in part. She says, "I do not presume to understand current politics, but what I do know is the concerns of the U.S. administration discussed by Vice President Vance on Friday are not reflective of," and I'm not sure how to pronounce the name of the base, "of this space base," she wrote in the email. She said, "I commit that for as long as I am lucky enough to lead this base, all of our flags will fly proudly together." In the military personnel do not have freedom of speech, no matter what their rank is, right? Milli Vanilli should have been tossed out of the service when he put that tape out, criticizing President Trump after President Trump went to the church that the BLMers burned down and the Antifas burned down in his first term. But, President Trump got sidetracked and was very busy with other things, and Milley was able to hold on to his job. He should have been fired. But military personnel do not have free speech. They cannot disagree with the civilian authority. And she's disagreeing with not so much J.D. Vance, but the president of the United States. And like this school teacher in Brevard County, Florida, she's an activist. She's a social justice warrior. And this colonel knew exactly what she was doing. And this one comment, I brought this up on the morning show today, and I've done some reading through the articles, I've not heard anybody get into this. And I thought this one sentence in the email was very strange. She says, I commit that for as long as I am lucky enough to lead this base, all of our flags will fly proudly together. What does that mean? What flags is she talking about? I would imagine that on a U.S. Space Force base in Greenland, you have the flag of the United States and the Space Force flag. Maybe the flag of Denmark's on the pole, but I don't even think that's up there. What flags is she talking about? Is she talking about the social justice flags, like the BLM flags, the transgender flags that Pete Hegseth ordered removed, and that the flags that Marco Rubio ordered removed from all U.S. embassies around the world? Are those the flags she's talking? I'm not sure exactly what she means by this, but she's another social justice warrior, and she may be a DEI promoted colonel, but when she sent off that email, she knew exactly what she was doing. You know, these social justice warriors believe that they are answering a higher calling, and that what they believe is better than what anybody else believes, that they know that's what's best. Now, when someone gets fired like this from her post, I don't know exactly how this works, and there hasn't been a lot of follow-up. Is she still in the service and she's just going to be reassigned? Is she going to be court-martialed? Is she being removed from the service? I mean, this is a hardcore insubordination. I think she should be court-martialed, and it should be a very high-profile court-martial. And it really, truly shows you, like with this school teacher here in Florida, you know, what the left have done. You know, this country has been under attack more than just through our southern border. Okay, we've been under attack all over the place. All right, not just the southern border. And I'm not saying the southern border is not important, but it's in a way it's been a distraction because that's where all our focus has been for good reason. I mean, rapists and murderers have been coming up. They've had this invading army that have been coming here causing havoc. So, you know, that's more immediate than in the line of importance than social justice warriors. But this country has been under attack in every possible aspect that we could be attacked. And when President Trump talks so much in the first campaign and in the first term about draining the swamp, this is what he's doing. He's draining the swamp like it's never been drained before. Now, I want to play this sound clip. This is Candace Owens, and I know I've covered a lot about the anti-Semitism of Candace Owens, and you know. It's not so much that I'm a strong supporter of Israel, by the way, in case you don't know. It's not that I care so much what Candace Owens says, because I think she's completely insane, and I believe that more and more people are realizing that every day. However, I've noticed that there's a lot of other younger conservatives, like millennials, that are conservative influencers who are thinking like she is in regards to Israel. And it's really sad. Let me play this. This is Candace Owens.
Like, it feels like Netanyahu is running the White House and Trump's just signing and doing whatever they say, right? It feels like Netanyahu should be sitting in the Oval Office as they demand hate speech laws and they get what they want. Every day they're announcing something that they're going to do to further support Israel. And that something is now looking to me like a detriment to American freedom. And if you can't see that, okay, it is time for you to take off the rose-colored glasses. Because just because Trump was against all of this in 2016 does not mean that he does not have people that are around him who are for this now that we are in 2025. And I won't tolerate it. If I had the courage to stand up to my race when they were saying these things, I will be damned if you think that I don't have enough courage to stand up to ethnic supremacy as it is now again coming into the country under the guise of hatred for Jews, when in fact it's hatred for Bibi Netanyahu routinely blowing up children and us being told that we're not allowed to speak about it.
Okay, so there's Candace Owens losing her freaking mind. What she's talking about there, I'm not going to go through the anti-Semitism because of her, because I've talked about that a lot with her, and I'm sure I will a lot in the future as it comes on. But what she's referencing there are these students like that Mahmoud at Colombia, who's facing deportation back to Syria, who's here on this visa. He's married to an American citizen. He had a student visa. Now he's got some other kind of visa. And he's been organizing these pro-Hamas events. And we've been finding a lot of things out here. You know, these students and college professors and others on these visas that are organizing these demonstrations in favor of Hamas. Hamas is a terrorist organization that is a front group for Iran, and their one purpose, they have one purpose and one purpose only, that's to kill Jews, okay? It is a terrorist organization. And, freedom of speech does not involve coming here from other countries, getting into this country on a visa, and then organizing support for terrorist organizations. And, to take it out of the Hamas, which is as sad as it is, people look at that and then they hear like Candace Owens and they tune out reality. There's other terrorist organizations, right? Al-Qaeda and ISIS. Okay. Do you see anybody out there advocating for Al-Qaeda and ISIS? Of course not. They're terrorist organizations just like Hamas. The only difference is Hamas kills people that liberals, like, Candace Owens, a liberal, she's a lunatic, but Hamas kills people that they think are deserving, Jews. And that's just a sad reality of it, okay? If somebody was out there advocating and organizing for ISIS or Al-Qaeda, of course they would be arrested. Even a U.S. citizen. You cannot go out and advocate and organize for terrorist organizations in this country. And especially when you're a foreigner here on a guest visa of any kind. Marco Rubio said yesterday during the cabinet meeting, there's this attitude, this idea that a visa is some type of entitlement. And once you have one, you're locked into this country. And he says, no, you're a guest. You're a guest at our home and you're messing up our home. And that's exactly what's going on here. So no, these fake students and fake professors that are advocating for these terrorist organizations, they need to be suppressed and they need to be deported. And these universities do need to have their college funding cut from the federal government. The federal government funds all of these institutions through financial aid alone to hundreds of millions of dollars a year, sometimes even more, some of them. Okay, this is outrageous. This is something that should have happened 20 or 30 years ago. It didn't. It's happening now, so that's a good thing. But she's advocating for these terrorist sympathizers that are really not just activists for the terrorists. A lot of them are enemy spies for Iran or Hamas in this country. Okay, this is insane. And when you hear her talk like that, does she sound lucid to you? Let me know what you think.
Are you ready to transform pain into purpose? From author Sammy Dunaway comes your guide to healing what hurts most in the book, Bridge to Redemption, The Power of Forgiveness, available on Amazon. This must-read book combines real-life stories with practical tools like journaling, mindfulness, and empathy building to help you release anger, regret, and bitterness. When you read Bridge to Redemption through the lens of divine grace, you'll learn to forgive others and yourself, mend broken relationships, and find the peace you've been longing for. Whether you're carrying deep wounds or seeking a fresh start, this book is your roadmap to a lighter, freer life. It also makes a great addition to your book club. Discover how forgiveness isn't just a gift for others. It's a lifeline for you, a bridge from pain to peace, from regret to redemption. Bridge to Redemption, The Power of Forgiveness is available now on Amazon. Your journey to healing starts right now. From publisher, author, and founder of Episodic Literature LLC, Lesheki Lyons, comes a sci-fi thriller like no other, Mine. This is a story everyone will be talking about. Imagine a world where genetic mutation changes everything. In Mine, meet Lorraine Givens. She's a federal agent with everything on the line. She's desperate to prove her husband's innocence as she uncovers a criminal organization darker and more twisted than she ever imagined. Mine is a season-style novel that combines the addictive pacing of streaming television. With the depth of a great book, the author delivers a fresh urban sci-fi take on vampires, one that's filled with unexpected twists, unforgettable characters, and edge-of-your-seat suspense. Follow Lorraine's journey. Can you keep up with the twist and the turns? Can you tell friend from foe? Find out when you read Mine from author and publisher Leshekia Lyons. Available right now on Amazon and Kindle, paperback, and Kindle Unlimited. Mine makes a great addition to your book club. Order your copy right now. Navigating social life as a teen isn't easy. The peer pressure, anxiety, friendships in the digital world can be overwhelming. But the new book from mother, grandmother, and author J.C. Bartlett gives teens the confidence they need to connect, communicate, and thrive in any social setting. Social Skills for Teens 101, available on Amazon. From managing social anxiety to boosting self-esteem, handling peer pressure, and cyberbullying, Social Skills for Teens 101 offers real-life strategies, interactive exercises, and expert advice tailored for today's world. And it's available right now on Amazon and Kindle, paperback, and Kindle Unlimited. Give your teen the tools they need to build meaningful relationships and face social challenges with confidence. Social Skills for Teens 101 from author J.C. Bartlett on Amazon. Is chemotherapy the only way to fight cancer? Author David Etheridge challenges everything you think you know in his book, Cancer Alternatives. With over 200 supplements, vitamins, and minerals discussed, plus 30 alternative protocols, Cancer Alternatives explains natural and alternative cancer therapies and what makes them valuable, as well as uncovering natural therapies your doctor may never mention. Learn the options, understand the risks, and take control of your health. Order your copy of Cancer Alternatives from author David Etheridge on Amazon and Kindle, paperback, and Kindle Unlimited, as well as the website canceralternativesbook.com. Because knowledge is power in the fight for your life.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
A lot of you have probably seen the plane crash in Boca Raton, Florida today. And yeah, that's not too far from where I live in my neighborhood. And small plane, 3 people on board, 3 dead, just got awful. And that crash happened at around 10:20 a.m. And, you know, today I did the morning show from my home studio. I didn't go to the radio station. If I had gone to the radio station, I would have been driving southbound right there, almost exactly where it happened. I would have been pretty close to it. Yeah, that's a terrible crash, you know, and it was a big explosion. That area is an area I drive all the time. That airport, it's a private airport, a small airport, and I never really cared for that airport there. It's a lot of student pilots, and of course it's amateur pilots, and there's a huge bridge that goes there that's too high for the runway, for the level of pilots that are there. And where the crash actually happened, where the impact happened, is right down the street from the office of Attorney Barry Siegel, who you hear me talk with on the radio all the time. And it's just a god-awful thing. But, you know, here's the thing. With what you see going on with the airline industry and everything today, I don't like to fly in small planes. I've flown in a small twin-engine aircraft once about 20 years ago, and I'll never do it again. It was one of the most terrifying experiences in my life. It wasn't over a residential area. It was in Peru. A friend of mine and we were in Peru, and if you've ever heard of the Nazca lines, I always wanted to see the Nazca lines. We went down there to see the Nazca lines, and we paid to fly on this twin-engine plane over the Nazca lines, which are way up in the mountains, high in the air. And I didn't realize how much small aircraft get tossed around. That was it for me. I'll never go up in a small aircraft again. But, you know, the thing about small planes, as a rule of thumb, and things have changed so much in today's society. You know, we had that helicopter crash in New York yesterday, an entire family killed, you know, that tourist helicopter around New York City tour. You know, the quality of people that are pilots today just is not what it used to be. I've never flown in a helicopter, never would. But when I was younger, when I was maybe even into my teens, if you flew in a helicopter, there's a very good chance, maybe more likely than not, that helicopter was piloted by a military trained helicopter pilot, probably from Vietnam, right? So you knew you had someone that had military training in that aircraft. And that was also true when I was young with smaller planes. While I didn't fly in the smaller planes when I was young, I knew people that did, and people in my family did. And most often than not, the person that owned the private airplane at least the ones I knew, I know this is not always the case, but the ones I knew of, most of them were ex-military. They learned how to fly in the military. Same used to be true of commercial jets too. If you were in a commercial plane, like flying for Delta or, back in the days with Eastern, Pan Am, chances are the pilots of those American commercial airlines were military trained, Air Force, Marines, Navy, all of that. And that's just not the case anymore. People take flight lessons down the street at the local airport, and next thing you know, they're flying passengers, and they're flying helicopters, and they're flying this, and they're flying that. And it's more than DEI. Of course, DEI plays a role in some of these things. Probably that helicopter crash with the military helicopter a few weeks back in DC, the Delta flight that crashed and flipped over in Toronto a few weeks back. Those are certainly DEI instances, right? They are. I mean, we know. I mean, that's just the way it is. And that's a big factor. That's a problem. But there's just a lower standard in general when it comes to pilots of everything today. And it used to be because you get on an aircraft, you're putting your life in the hands. Elite people were flying helicopters and passengers on airplanes. It's just not the case anymore. And it shouldn't be that way. There really needs to be an increase in the quality of training and qualifications that people need to be flying aircraft. Now, the thing about the helicopters, helicopters are incredibly dangerous. There's all kinds of crashes all the time with helicopters. Nothing could get me into a helicopter. There's just nothing could get me into a helicopter ever. I mean, I'm not going to fly any more small aircraft either. But this crash today, just a sad one. And the one in New York in the helicopter, just tragic. But overall, it's DEI, but just lower standards to be pilots. The thing about military trained pilots is military trained pilots not only get the best training and everything, they learn how to regain control of aircraft in emergency situations. This one that crashed in Boca Raton, Florida today, they had a rudder problem, and the pilot didn't have the ability to regain control of the aircraft. Now, if it was a military trained pilot, maybe they wouldn't have either, but you would have you'd have a better chance. But no, it's real close to our house, and it was a bad one. I've seen some local people that actually right down the street, they caught the explosion, and the smoke went way up in the air from that crash today. I mean, way up in the air. In fact, where it crashed is a block or two away from the Newsmax corporate headquarters, which are in Boca Raton, just coincidentally, for those that are familiar with the area. All right, so getting back to the issues, I am talked to death about tariffs, aren't you guys? I mean, come on. What else can be said? This week has been really, truly an amazing week. And what President Trump has done with the import-export taxes, with the tariffs, with the countries around the world is phenomenal. We have such little manufacturing in this country anymore. I mean, next to none. And obviously what President Trump is doing everything he can to bring as much manufacturing back to the United States as possible. Once the manufacturing's here, there's no tariffs because those are jobs, and those are good paying jobs. And, you hear this attitude that these are jobs that Americans don't want. Who says that? I don't know. There's a lot of jobs because of technology that have disappeared, right? The malls, the retail malls around our our country have dried up, but there's still a lot of retail work out there. While the regular malls have dried up all over the country, although the malls in our area are jam-packed, but strip malls have been growing. So it's just a different type of mall. Malls are still out there. They're just in strip mall form. Would someone rather work a 40-hour week and a retail job at a strip center mall, or would they rather work a 40-hour week at a manufacturing plant because that pays more? And I would say they'd rather work in the manufacturing plant, in the factory, than they would rather work in a retail store. It's interesting how the liberals just think that Americans are lazy. It goes back to their hate America first crowd business. They're always saying that, oh, Americans don't want this job, or these are, the illegals take jobs that Americans don't want to do, and Americans don't want manufacturing jobs. No, that is not the case. And that's not the case at all. Why don't we have shoe factories here? I was shocked. I just realized this week my Vans are made in Vietnam. Those are all-American California shoes Vans. Now they're made in Vietnam. Why aren't they made in California? Of course, Americans would love to make Vans. Americans would love to work in these things, in these different factories. That's just that's just the snobbery of the left. Their hate America first attitude, that's part of it. But it's also their snobbery, right? I mean, they want to think that Americans don't want to work hard, but they do. And, it's an interesting thing. While China is fighting President Trump pretty hard, and they're not likely to give anytime soon. I mean, they're very stubborn and very entitled, China, very arrogant. They think they're a race, and that they're the superior race, and all others should be destroyed. And they've really been given free rein for decades by the government of the United States. And they very well may think, well, Trump's got the one term, we can ride him out. They might be thinking that, and maybe they'll never come to a resolution with Trump. But the rest of the countries of the world are. Right now, as of the Carolyn Leavitt press conference today, I think she said there's 75 countries that have come a knocking at the White House to set up negotiation meetings on the tariffs. So all of the other major countries and the big players of the world are doing the right thing because they know that the United States has been ripped off all this time. It's only the American left and China that are saying, no, the United States should continue to be ripped off. I mean, it doesn't even make sense. Who would stand up and support the United States to continue to be ripped off? I understand why China is doing it because they want China to be first. But when you talk about the American left, and I know, your first reaction will be Trump derangement syndrome. Yeah, but that almost lets these idiots off the hook, really. This attitude that you see from American liberals that what Trump's doing with the import-export taxes is so wrong when everybody knows everything he's doing is perfect and right on. It goes to that whole hate America first crowd. And, since the Vietnam War era, the American left have been tearing this country down. And, when President Trump says, make America great again, what he means is getting America back to the way we were in the 50s and 60s, where the people of the country were united in making us number one in everything. But the American left, they just, for some reason, they get a bad taste in their mouth if America's number one. It makes no sense. And I don't know how the country has stayed together so strong and been so successful with these liberals working so hard and being so successful at tearing us down. I mean, look at all this money that's been exposed, $1 quadrillion that Doge has found. I know that's a fictitious. I found so much money the mind can't comprehend, but they have just been stealing money faster than they can print it from the U.S. Treasury through every agency of the government. It's been going on our whole lives. President Trump's turned their entire world upside down, and they don't even realize what is happening.
If you're a homeowner or with a homeowners association and your roof is old or compromised, you need to call Tom Laporta at Laporta Roofing. Laporta Roofing has been in the roofing and construction business since 1984 with thousands of roof installations and thousands of satisfied customers. Did you know that in the state of Florida, you can open a roofing company and borrow someone else's license? Tom Laporta is the holder of his roofing and general contractor's licenses, not like the other companies that borrow other people's licenses. So be sure who you're dealing with. Tom Laporta and his team are honest, knowledgeable, and reliable, and he'll never sell you a roof you don't need. Laporta Roofing carries all insurance, including workers' compensation on all of its employees, not just a waiver like other contractors. Laporta Roofing can handle any type of roofing job too. Residential roofing, HOAs, condominiums, and churches. If it's roofing, Laporta Roofing can do it. So call Tom Laporta on his cell phone, 954-604-4602, or connect online at laportaroofing.com. That number again is 954-604-4602. Laporta Roofing, the go-to roofing company you can trust.
This is Dr. Philip Appleton. I'm a chiropractic physician. I've seen thousands and thousands of patients in my career. I've been a chiropractic physician here in Pompano Beach for 40 years. We're open 6 days a week. If you have sciatica, you have bursitis, you have tendonitis, you're tired of taking the pills, the drugs, the injections, and you heard that you have to live with it. Well, there's a lot of times you don't have to live with it. I've had great success with helping people. My testimonials are marvelous with patients. They love the treatment because no injections, there's no medication, there's no surgery. There's none of that. It's strictly either the laser or the acupuncture I do or shockwave therapy I do. Open 6 days a week. Come in for the free consultation and be willing to look at you and help you.
Take advantage of that no-charge consultation with Dr. Appleton. Remember, appointments are not necessary and walk-ins are welcome even on Saturdays. 954-973-0710. 954-973-0710. And online, AppletonChiro.com.
We're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Lynn from Boynton. I just received my 7th and 8th set of Mike Lindell sheets. This time we got flannel ones, which we had never had. I got one for my husband for Christmas. He loves it. Oh, my God. And especially with the cold days and nights we've been having the last few months in Florida. I got 2 more. I send them to my friends for Christmas now, and they just love them. Absolutely love them.
Yeah, I have the flannels, too. You're like Goldilocks. They keep you the same temperature all night long.
Yes. So perfect. The guy just has a great product.
The thing with Mike Lindell sheets, all of them, the fitted sheet at the bottom fits perfectly on the mattress. Every other sheet, you can't get the 4 corners on. And it's almost impossible. Even after having them for years and washing them, I don't know how many times, they still fit perfectly.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
You're probably going to be on the next My Pillow commercial, just so you know, okay?
Okay.
Okay, just to let you know.
You heard Lynn from Boynton. She loves her My Pillow sheets. Order yours right now at a huge discount. Use our promo code KANE, KANE, at checkout at mypillow.com.
You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
I want to take a moment to thank all of our Patreon supporters for their support of the program. And if you'd like to support all of my content, the podcast, my YouTube channel, everything that I do, becoming a Patreon supporter is a great way to do that. Patreon supporters have access to commercial-free episodes of all the podcast. And my wife, Kathy, and I post a lot of things on Patreon that we don't post anywhere else. Our top Patreon supporters get a live on-air thank you shout out on every episode. So the names you're going to hear now, these are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, ETW, Chuck, Pamela, Nick, Wesley, Heather, David, Maria in Texas, Alice, LeeZep, Shawna, George, Brandon, Rob and Trish Wilkerson, John S., Frank, Dale, David, Laura B., Rob L., and SF Jr. Thanks so much for your support of the program. And if you'd like to become a Patreon supporter, there's a link in the description of this and every episode. So Byron Donalds, he's running for governor of Florida, and he's the front runner by far. But you never know. There's somebody else could come along, but Byron Donalds is pretty popular, and
he's my guy. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He already has the endorsement of President Trump. And the other day, he got out of his car and saw some protesters, some liberal activist protesters, and he went over and started talking to them. This was last weekend, and these were people that were protesting Elon Musk here in Florida, and they're holding up a sign that says fascist. And Byron Donalds goes up to them. Listen.
Do you agree as a member? Hang on, I'm sorry, ma'am. But as a member of Congress, because I was just in D.C. on Monday for Trans Day of Visibility, and I would like you as
Trans Day of Visibility. Oh my goodness, these people have too much time on their hands to take part in such days.
Do you agree as a member? Hang on, I'm sorry, ma'am. But as a member of Congress, because I was just in D.C. on Monday for Trans Day of Visibility, and I would like you as a member of Congress to rise up and support LGBTQ plus youth and stop this fucking insane attack on our children who know who they are.
Number one,
no. Of course you're not, because you're a fascist. You're a trace. You're a race traitor, and you are a fascist.
A race traitor. Oh my goodness. And now keep in mind, this is a white woman telling this black man that he's betraying African Americans.
I asked you a question. You said you wanted me. I said I don't agree. And then you start yelling at me. You call me a fascist. You call me a race traitor. And you want me to agree with you? What are you talking about, ma'am? I'm a constitutionalist. Ma'am, I'm a constitutionalist. I believe in freedom and liberty for everybody. I believe in the U.S. Constitution. I believe in everybody's freedoms and rights. But if I don't agree, hold on. But when I don't agree with you, then all of a sudden I'm a fascist. That's what's wrong. If all you want to do is yell and scream and curse when I don't agree with you, I'm sorry, ma'am. You are now in the 20% of America.
You need to worry because you will never get my vote, and you don't live here.
I'm going to be your governor. Trust me.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
Oh my goodness. No, you're not going to be our governor. No, you're not. Oh my goodness. You know, the left, I know it seems kind of funny, but there's a nationwide mental health crisis with liberals, isn't there? I mean, they are totally unhinged. They're in all kinds of just different states of complete lunacy. Some of them are violent. These women are just, I don't know how to even describe them. Imagine going through life like that. You know, as conservatives as MAGA, we're not happy when we lose. We were out of power for 4 years, and look what they were doing to our leader, Donald Trump. We weren't behaving like that. Now, Jasmine Crockett, oh boy, she's been taking the lead, and now, since she's got a spotlight on her, things are starting to be found out about her. Listen to this. There's a new investigation of her on April 2nd. The Federal Election Commission officially launched a probe into Texas Rep. Jasmine Crockett following a complaint filed by the conservative Coolidge Reagan Foundation. The complaint, submitted on March 26th, centers around suspicious donations made to Crockett's 2024 reelection campaign through Act Blue, the Democrat Party's fundraising platform. According to the FEC letter to the foundation, the respondents will be notified of this complaint. It goes on and on. Well, she's under investigation. And, Jasmine Crockett, she's become the face of their party. And what's going on in the Democrat Party is there's nonstop competition among different lunatics to become the spokesperson of the Democrat Party. And it looks like right now that Bernie Sanders and AOC are planning on running together as running mates, right? They're on this national tour together. They're speaking together. They're acting like running mates. And that's fine. I mean, I agree with Senator Kennedy with AOC. Our strategy is Operation Let Her Speak. The left, like these lunatics on the side of the road with Byron Donalds here in Florida, each and every one of their people, whether it's Gavin Newsom, whether it's AOC and Bernie Sanders, whether it's Shifty Shift and all of them, they do not have a coherent message on anything. This Tesla terrorism, for example, none of them will condemn it. Even when asked, they will not condemn the Tesla terrorism. How can you go around and want to be the front person, the spokesperson, the representative of one of the two major parties, and you can't even condemn domestic terrorism. That's the mindset they're in. And it really tells you who they think their base are. These lunatics that Byron Donalds is arguing with on the side of the road, that's their base. So they're catering their message. We call them the 20%, right? These 80-20 positions. I think it's more like 99-1 positions. Some of these, I mean, everybody's against domestic terrorism, right? Everyone's against firebombing car dealerships in the United States. Well, most everybody is. Not these leftists, and not even the Democrat leaders who cannot condemn it. It's really amazing how much of their base has been lost, that the Democrats have this lunatic fringe that they're trying to cater to. These Karens on the side of the road with Byron Donalds. My name is Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk.